Hi everyone and welcome into my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, my name is Bloom and welcome to Blooming Woman. For all of my returning subscribers, welcome back into another video. Today's video is going to be about the goddess Maat from ancient Africa, ancient Egypt, Kemet, and I'm going to be talking about some brief things about who she is, what she does, and what she was known for. And then I'm also definitely going to be comparing her with the zodiac sign Libra, because Maat was basically the original Libra, okay? This was the original personification of something that represented everything that Libra represents: scales, justice, balance, truth. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn about the goddess Maat. Okay guys, so we're gonna get straight into it. I do have notes because there is so much to cover about Maat. Like a lot of you guys know, I am doing my intuitive readings that I do every month. It's gonna be categorized by the ancient Egyptian names of goddess and deities and gods, as opposed to the Greek mythology name of zodiac signs, which were all stolen from Kemet in the first place. So I'm going to use the ancient African names, and I'm going to use the original signs of the zodiac signs, okay? But first I got to let my audience and let you guys know why this is related to Libra, or why a certain deity represents a certain zodiac sign, okay? So let's get straight into Maat. I'm not going to miss any of this details, and I'm going to skim through it so that this video is not super long, okay? So the first thing to know about Maat is obviously she is going to be a goddess. She's going to be a deity that is from ancient Kemet, the African kingdom of Kemet, which is located in Egypt, okay? She's also the goddess of truth. She was known as that because she held such a high position. That also makes her the goddess of cosmic law. Cosmic law, which is pretty much going to be why everything is the way it is, why everything is how it is, cause and effect, effect and cause and effect all happening at once as opposed to one after the other. However you want to look at it, whatever your beliefs are. But basically, she's going to be that rules and regulations. So she's going to be like the judge. She represents discernment, where it's a hard yes or it's a hard no. She represents balance because she is the scales, similar to Libra. She also represents justice because she has the ability to really see whether or not someone deserves freedom, okay? So that also represents the law system as well, because it's justice. She represents all of these things: discernment, peace, balance, freedom, law, order, law and order. All of these things she represents, and she represents truth as well. So another thing about Maat is that she could even be looked at as the personification, as the causal realm, where all the things happen, where cause and effects all occur. So she can be looked up as that as well. But overall, she's the goddess that holds the characteristics of decision making, okay, and discernment, okay, and being very discernment of justice. She's also going to be the daughter of Ra, okay? So she also basically is a daughter of Ra. And when you look at Kemet and you look at their belief systems, there's actually a lot of goddesses and gods that basically came from Ra. And depending on how you want to look at their storytelling, you can even look at it as a lot of them basically came from that source. That a lot of them came from the source, which is going to be Ra. But yeah, you can see her depicted as an all-woman. She's usually all-woman. She's not half animal or half anything. She's usually an all-woman deity, and she usually has a feather inside of her hair, which she does use it for a specific reason, okay? And she can typically be seen inside of books, basically with wings or without wings. But for the most part, she's gonna be having her wings, and if she has her wings, it's either going to be out like this, or it's going to be like this to the side, as if she's actually being a scale and she's actually balancing things. Okay, so there's so much to really know when it comes to Maat as a deity. There's so many different representations of her. There's so many different things that have been stolen and used by her. And I'm just gonna try and go through those things as fast as I can so I don't make this video so long, okay? But the first one that I found was going to be the monument in New York City. Of course, that's going to be the Statue of Liberty, Lady Liberty, which is all in the name anyway, because this is the Lady of Freedom. This is the Lady of Liberation, Liberty. Liberty means freedom, okay? So this is Lady Liberty, okay? And basically, when you look at the Statue of Liberty, you know, she is actually made out of all copper, and this material copper is actually something that was really highly used inside of ancient Kemet, even before other countries like kind of started using them a lot. Like Turkey uses, they use copper a lot inside of their history throughout their past. But Kemet was really the first people to really use and utilize copper. Copper also has this powerful thing behind it, where it's kind of like electrical magnet. Like it's kind of, it has an electrical charge behind it. There's different healing properties inside of copper as well, where you can use it to heal arthritis if you wear it on your wrist as a bracelet. You can use it to take pain away. You can even use it for your blood. Now, I'm not going to go too much in diving into that just to stay on topic with the video, but it's just interesting how Kemet used copper so much, and Lady Liberty is made out of all copper. Now, she doesn't look like she's made out of all copper because she's green, but she is made all of copper. And it states that she's actually, the research that I did says that she's made out of copper from 2 pennies put together. So that would be like the thickness of how thick the copper is that she's made out of. And then obviously there's going to be some other form or some other material that's holding her structure. But that's a lot of copper. And she's standing up high. And the reason why I bring this up is really related to Kemet also, because Kemet was basically the first civilization. So they were the first people to actually say, okay, we're gonna make these big like monuments. They were the first people to actually make monuments of that size. And the reason behind that is because of something that has to deal with the energy that they pull from the cosmos, the energy that they pull from the sky, the lightning actually striking. Lady Liberty and the Statue of Liberty gets struck by lightning many times a year, according to the government, according to the U.S. government, according to the National Parks .gov, National Parks site, government site. They talk about Lady Liberty, and that's where I did my research on her, and she gets struck by lightning a lot. Now, when you think about even all the different cities and all of the different buildings inside of New York City, inside of different cities and civilizations, they stand that tall, and then they actually have, some of them have like something that points to the sky specifically for those type of reasons. Now you add copper into the mix, and that really changes things up, okay? It basically brings energy towards that civilization. It brings an electrical charge to them, okay? It brings a certain frequency to that civilization. It really does. And that is some of the things that aren't talking about with Kemet. The fact that they were the first people to have big monuments like that. It's usually talked about the fact that aliens helped them and they couldn't have possibly done that on their own. So yeah, you know, with the Statue of Liberty, she's made out of all of that, and that directly correlates with Kemet, and it also directly correlates with Maat as well, being the goddess of liberty and freedom and justice, okay? So Lady Liberty is also holding a torch inside of her hand, and that torch represents enlightenment, okay? This torch represents enlightenment, and it represents enlightenment to freedom. It represents showing a civilization, showing a group of people freedom, justice, okay, liberty. And that has everything to do with Maat as well. And then also, she is also holding a book of law. So Lady Liberty, the Statue of Liberty, is holding a book of laws, okay? This is a book of regulations and rules. And Maat is about regulations and rules, which I will get to that in a second. But Lady Liberty is doing that as well. And that it's just really just stolen from Kemet, and it's really plain and simple. Some things it's kind of hard to see that it's stolen from different places, and it's kind of like you weren't there, so you can't say it. But some things are just plain and simple, and these are one of those things that are just plain and simple. Okay, let's get back to Maat. Okay, so she, she is the balancer, she is the scale, and she serves justice and liberty. She has the role of balancing individuals' hearts with a feather to see whether or not your heart is equal or lighter than a feather. And if your heart is the same weight as a feather, or if it's lighter than a feather, then you would be able to go to a Maat. And a Maat is basically what the Bible stole that whole story and they took Judgment Day from. A Maat is basically heaven. You can look at that as heaven, what we know in modern day society as something called a heaven. But it's basically going to be the boat of Ra. Okay, so it's going to be that boat of Ra. It's going to be that place of where everything is golden, and you basically have that freedom, and you basically have that liberty and that liberation, and you've earned what it is that you worked hard for. Basically, you've earned following the laws of Maat. Okay, so now if you did not get the chance to go on the boat of Ra or go to a Maat, which is their version of heaven, the first original version of heaven, idea of heaven, you basically got eaten by another deity, and this deity's name is going to be Amut or Amit, and this is actually going to take the place of Capricorn, which is going to be in a later video. But Amit and Amut will basically eat the heart. He's fed the heart, and Horus is the one that takes you to Amut so you can get your heart eaten, because your heart is like heavier than a feather. Okay, and then also with that whole situation, you have Ampu, which is the Kemetic name for Anubis. Anubis is going to be the Greek name. They stole it, they took it, they even changed the names and kept the real story. They changed the names too. It's ridiculous. But Ampu, which is Anubis, he's the one that actually takes you to the Hall of Amenta. So the Hall of Amenta is going to be the Hall of Heaven. That's the hall before you go, and that's where the balancing act takes place. And this is where Maati comes into play. Maati is the scale. Maati means balance. It literally translates into the word balance. It is a scale, and Maat is that personification. So Maat is the scale. She's the balancer, okay? And overall, she's basically, even though there's all these different characters and stuff and they're doing their things to help her, she's the facilitator. Maat is the balance. Maat is Libra. Maat is a scale. She is the first ever personification of something that makes that judgment, of something that makes that call to say whether or not you can get to go to heaven or not, to say whether or not you get to go to jail or do you get to be free. And her whole everything about Maat and Maati and that whole story and the 12 chambers of Duat and all of those things have all been stolen and used in other places without given any credit to. So this is why it's important to really know our actual history and know where it comes from. It doesn't mean that we're bound by history, because we can make history today. We can make new things today. But it's good to know that as Black people, we had a big, we're not always in this negative light, that there's a lot more to our history than his story, than what he decides to tell us, okay, in history class. So when it comes to that balancing act and all of those things, that goes back to the Statue of Liberty, that goes back to the Bible, basically taking that entire scene, that entire storytelling, that entire artistry, that entire creativity, that entire idea, and creating Judgment Day, okay? It's important to know too that with the Statue of Liberty, not only does she have the book of law, but the other thing about the Statue of Liberty is that her robe is actually going to be a robe that represented the Roman goddess, okay? And that Roman goddess is Libertas, okay? So Libertas is a Roman goddess, and she basically is going to be the original Statue of Liberty. So Statue of Liberty was made as, like, at that time, the modern day Libertas. Libertas is basically the goddess of societal and personal freedom, okay? So she really was the goddess of that, and that's what Statue of Liberty represents, that person that's holding the torch of enlightenment. If you're enlightened, then your heart is not heavy. Okay, this all goes back to Kemetic, it all goes back to Maat, because what's really happening, and this is when it actually gets spiritual, what's really happening is when Maat is balancing your heart with a feather to see which one is lighter, and to make sure that your heart is as light as a feather, you got to take the storytelling and understand, what does the heart represent? So your heart is everything that has to deal with your attachments. Your heart is everything that has to deal with the things that you're bonded to, your desires, okay? Things that you won't leave, things inside this physical realm. And if you are attached to things inside this physical realm, then you're going to continue to get reincarnated. You're going to continue to come back here because your attention is onto this physical realm as opposed to within you and being lightweight. When you're as light as a feather and you're lightweight, then you can ascend. How can you be able to fly and ascend if you're still inside of a physical body, which is basically made up of matter and it has a bunch of weight? But if you detach yourself from the physical realm and all of your attachments, which is what the heart implies on, your desires, things that your relationships, all of these things, marriages, some type of bond that you're connected with, when your heart is attached to these things and your focus and your attention is on this physical realm, then you're still holding on to that matter of your physical body. Now, if anyone knows about astral projecting and going to other realms, and even having out-of-body experiences of what could possibly happen to you when you do pass away, you can fly. Inside of other realms, there is different laws. There are different laws, there's different rules. Just like when you go to sleep, you can do a bunch of things when you're sleeping that you can't necessarily do inside of this physical realm. When you're sleeping, you can fly. When you're sleeping, time works differently. Time and space works differently. Time and space is actually something that's extremely physical. It's something that's really extremely physical in this physical realm. But that's just my personal opinion. But when you see astral projection and astral realm, and there are realms, in my personal opinion, that are higher than the astral realm as well in order to get to what someone would consider home. But you're able to fly because you are lightweight. You're as light as a feather. And this is where there's so much beauty and there's so much artistry and there's so much attention, intelligence, and there's so much higher consciousness and awareness within the Kemetic civilization that they were even able to come up with a story that came even slightly close to this. Even their storytelling doesn't get as much credit as it deserves, okay? So that whole concept of doing that is everything that Libra does. So bringing that back into Libra again, Libra is held and bound by their attachments. Libra has everything to do with relationships. They have everything to do with friends. They have everything to do with marriage. They have everything to do with relationships, business partnerships, all types of partnerships. They even have things to do with material, their like partnership with their material items. And it's not to say that a Libra characteristics is going to be somebody that is always balanced. It's more so that they are Maat. So they are the facilitator. They are the scale. That's why their symbol is basically a scale. It's not a woman holding a scale. It's not any of that. It's just a scale. because they are the scale. So they might not be balanced when you look at them, but their actual stuff that they do in their day-to-day life is going to be something that where they are mediating, where they are creating balance, where whatever it is that they're attached to, there will constantly be this back and forth with it. There will constantly be this give and take. They will constantly look from the outside, from another person's perspective. It could look like a Libra is always trying to balance something, to the point where they could come across even like they may be two-faced, or like they might not be genuine, just because they're trying to keep the peace, just because they're trying to make sure that everything is balanced. And that in itself can create things around them to not be balanced anymore. So this is Libra. Maat is Libra, plain and simple. It's all about balance. It's all about being able to facilitate. It's all about having justice. If you've ever seen a Libra individual, or an individual that has Libra strong inside their chart, depending on where it is, they will stand up for something that's right. If something's wrong, they will stand up and they will say that that thing is wrong, and they will not hold back. They are the goddesses of truth, the gods and goddesses of truth, Libra individuals, okay? Which is Maat, because she has the discernment. If you are not as light as a feather, you are going to get eaten, period. And so, you know, that's basically going to be it for how Maat and Libra really come in together and why they are the same. And to even further help you guys understand, lastly, some of the different things as well that were stolen from Kemet and from Maat, and you can actually look at the Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael, which I'll put his image in here, he is actually an angel that is balancing. He's holding scales and he's balancing individual souls at Judgment Day. So that is Maat. There is no if, ands, or but about it. That is Maat. That is Libra. He's balancing their souls on Judgment Day to see whether they're going to heaven or hell. I mean, that's basically what Maat does. So they stole that entire thing. And then on top of that, you look at the 10 Commandments. And when you think about the 10 Commandments, that's a rule book. If you follow these guidelines, then it will help you to live a non-sinful life. So that way on Judgment Day, you can be able to go to heaven if you follow the 10 Commandments. Well, Maat actually had something called the 42 rules of Maat. Which is a structure of laws and rules that one could follow in order to keep their heart light as a feather, so that they could ascend and they could go into the boat of Ra and essentially go into heaven, okay? So, I mean, it gets so deep, it's ridiculous. And there's other things inside of Kemet that is inside of the Bible as well, but this is really something that was taken from Maat that is inside there as well. And then lastly, the justice system as well, which has everything to do with Libra, and it has everything to do with Maat. If you look at the justice system, you'll see a lady that's blindfolded, and she's holding a scale, and she's also has a sword, because this is also going to be the Queen of Swords if you know anything about tarot and you know anything about the air element. Feather, air element, okay? Being as light as a feather, that's going to be air element. So she's holding it and she has a sword and she's basically judging. This is the justice system. This is the judge. So I really hope this video wasn't too long for you guys. It really took a lot of effort out of me to make this video for you all. So please hit that thumbs up to help support my channel and all of those things. And now if you're a Libra, then you know exactly when you're born and what your actual sign is. And speaking of when you were born, if you want to follow the dates that follow on the Rasaurian calendar, to see what your sign is based on a fixed calendar, the original calendar of Kemet, to see what your sign would be. I will put the dates over here. If you fall under these dates on the Gregorian calendar, which is going to be the calendar we know as today, these are the dates that are going to say that you are a Libra. Now, if you didn't fall under that date, then that means that you're probably a Cirquet, or you're probably going to be a Set, okay, which is going to be Virgo. So either way, you guys, that's going to be the dates. And if you actually want to purchase your own Rasaurian calendar, I'll leave the link for that inside the description box below, as well as all of my healing services. If you want to have a healing service with me or an intuitive reading with me, my website's going to be inside the description box below, where I also have my handmade crystal pendants, Reiki charge by me. It's all going to be found down there and inside the comment section as well. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. If you're not subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell notification if you want to get updated every time that I make a video, okay? Whew, man, I'm out of breath. If you made it this far to the video, give yourself a clap, and I hope this video could help you and bring you to new understandings of our history. So thank you all so much, and I'll see you all inside of the next video. Bye bye.